We need to talk about Clayface. Yeah, a full-on horror movie inside the new DC universe. Not a dark superhero movie, not horror-inspired, an actual body horror film. And I'm not gonna lie, the more details that come out about this thing, the more I start thinking DC might either create something incredible or something that completely freaks audiences out. Clayface is set to release on October 23rd, 2026, and it already feels totally different from anything else DC is doing right now. Superman is hopeful, Supergirl looks emotional and cosmic, but Clayface? This thing feels disturbing. Like, genuinely disturbing. The movie follows Matt Hagen, played by rhys Harries, who starts off as this rising Hollywood actor whose life completely spirals after a scientific experiment goes horribly wrong. And I think that's what makes this concept so interesting. This isn't just villain becomes evil because reasons. It's a story about identity falling apart, about a person literally losing control of their own body, their face, their mind, everything. And honestly, that's terrifying. What makes people even more excited and nervous is the creative team behind it. The film is directed by Watkins, but the script comes from Mike Flanagan. And if you know Mike Flanagan's work, you already know this probably won't just be cheap jump scares and gore for no reason. This dude knows how to make horror emotional. Midnight Mass, The Haunting of Hill House, The Fall of the House of Usher, his stories usually hit psychologically first before they hit visually. So imagine combining that style with a DC villain whose entire body can melt, twist, stretch, and transform into nightmare fuel. Yeah, that sounds insane. And apparently, Gunn confirmed they're using a ton of practical effects instead of depending heavily on CGI. I love that decision, because body horror always hits harder when it feels physical and real. I mean, think about movies like The Thing or even The Fly. The reason those transformations still haunt people decades later is because they look tangible, gross, uncomfortable, human. And I think Clayface could tap into that same energy. What also makes this project stand out is the tone. DC isn't trying to make this safe or family-friendly. From all reports, this movie leans hard into psychological horror, grotesque transformations, paranoia, and emotional breakdowns. This isn't a guy trying to conquer the world with a laser beam. This is a man slowly becoming a monster while desperately trying to hold on to what's left of himself. And honestly, that's way scarier. I mean, think about it. Most superhero movies are about saving the world, but Clayface sounds more like a tragedy, like watching someone decay in real time. And I think that's the real reason people are so curious about this movie, because DC could have easily played it safe. They could have just made another Batman-related action film, but instead they looked at a shape-shifting villain made of living clay and said, what if we made this emotionally horrifying? That's such a crazy swing. Now obviously there's risk here too, a lot of risk. General audiences might not expect something this dark from a DC movie. Some people hear comic book film and expect colorful action, jokes every 5 minutes, giant CGI fights. And Clayface sounds like the opposite of that. Slow tension, psychological discomfort, body horror, identity loss. That could absolutely divide audiences. But honestly, I think that's exactly why this movie matters. Superhero fatigue is real. People are tired of movies feeling identical. And whether Clayface succeeds or fails, at least it sounds memorable. At least it sounds like DC is trying to build a universe where different genres can exist together, instead of everything feeling copy-paste. And weirdly enough, I think Clayface might become one of the most important projects in the entire new DCU because of that. If this movie works critically and financially, it proves DC can experiment. It proves superhero stories don't always have to follow the same formula. Suddenly, horror projects, psychological thrillers, detective noirs, all of that becomes possible inside the DCU. And honestly, I kind of love that direction, because comic books themselves are weird. They've always been weird. Horror, sci-fi, fantasy, crime drama, DC has all of it. So seeing Gunn and Peter Safran actually embrace that variety instead of hiding from it feels refreshing. My prediction, I don't think Clayface will be the biggest box office movie in the DCU, but I do think it has massive potential to become a cult favorite. One of those movies people keep talking about years later because it took a huge creative risk. And if Mike Flanagan really delivers emotionally, this might end up being one of the saddest superhero movies DC has ever made too, because underneath all the horror and melting faces, this still sounds like a story about a broken human being. And those are usually the stories that hit the hardest. What do you guys think, squad? Are you excited for for Clayface as a full horror movie, or do you think this is too dark for the DC universe? And honestly, would you rather see superhero movies take more creative risks like this, or should DC stick closer to traditional comic book stories? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know where people stand on this one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We'll see you in the next video.